I went to Europe to do my spaghetti western, and before I left, I'd done a series of commercials for Nestle's Quick, in which I played a spoof on James Bond, Captain Quick.
In 1967, Adam West, famous for donning the cape and cowl of Batman, slipped back into costume one last time for a mysterious project. He traveled to London, filmed something in secret, and then it vanished. For over 50 years, no American fan ever saw a single frame. Not even the most die-hard collectors knew it existed. The footage was locked away, forgotten, hidden in British archives as if it had never happened. And when it finally resurfaced decades later, what Adam West said in that missing scene shocked fans and reminded the world that even the biggest superheroes can keep their darkest secrets. But to understand why this piece of lost Batman history matters so much, we need to rewind. The story of how Batman nearly became something completely different, a Saturday morning children's adventure, shaped everything that followed. In 1964, Ed Graham Productions had secured the rights to develop a Batman series. Their plan? A straightforward, kid-friendly show like the old adventures of Superman. An NFL linebacker named Mike Henry, who later played Tarzan, was set to become the very first live-action Batman. Imagine that, Batman as a tame Saturday morning hero, stripped of his darker edge. The idea nearly made it to air, but talks stalled, the project collapsed, and the world never saw that version. Ironically, that failure cleared the path for the Batman series that exploded into prime time, changing television forever. And fate had more twists to come. In 1965, at Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion in Chicago, Hefner decided to host a screening of the long-forgotten 1943 Batman serials. What began as a quirky nostalgia night turned into a cultural spark. The room erupted with laughter, cheers, and even costumed fans booing villains and celebrating the Caped Crusader. Suddenly, Batman wasn't just a dusty relic, it was hip again. The New York Times covered it, studios took notice, and Columbia Pictures recut the old serials into a 4.5-hour marathon film, An Evening with Batman and Robin. Crowds lined up around the block, midnight screenings sold out. The bat signal had been lit in Hollywood's imagination. Enter Yale Udolph, a young ABC executive who wouldn't stop shouting in meetings, "We ought to do Batman!" His passion convinced the network to take a gamble. But when producer William Dozier finally picked up a comic book for research, he made a surprising choice. He decided Batman couldn't be played straight, it had to be satire. This was the 1960s, an era of pop art, Andy Warhol, and wild cultural experiments. Dozier leaned into camp. Bright costumes, exaggerated villains, on-screen bam and pow fight bubbles. It was bold, risky, and nothing like the comics. And it worked. Casting was equally unexpected. Lyle Wagner was the safer choice for Batman, but Adam West, almost unknown at the time, beat him out after producers saw him in a Nestle's Quick commercial spoofing James Bond. West's ability to deliver absurd lines with a straight face sealed the deal. Beside him, a 20-year-old Burt Ward was cast as Robin, performing his own stunts, so dangerously that he ended up in the hospital 4 times during his first week of filming. Together, they became television icons overnight. But not everything was lighthearted. In 1954, psychiatrist Frederick Wortham published Seduction of the Innocent, accusing Batman comics of being psychologically homosexual. He claimed Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson's relationship was a wish dream of 2 homosexuals living together. The shadow of that accusation lingered into the 1960s. Producers feared even a hint of those rumors would ruin Batman's family-friendly image. And in 1967, a mainstream magazine finally broke the whispers into the open with an article titled "The Whisper Campaign Against Batman and Robin." Though it denied the claims, it slyly compared the stars to Liberace, feeding the gossip. ABC panicked. Scripts were rewritten to make Batman flirt with women, sometimes in awkward, forced ways, just to prove his masculinity. Publicity campaigns showed West and Ward practicing karate, talking about marriages, and posing with children. The network was desperate to keep sponsors happy, no matter how unnatural it felt. Meanwhile, the show's meteoric rise was already faltering. In January 1966, Batman premiered to massive ratings, 42% of the viewing audience. By summer, the phrase Batman fatigue was already spreading. The 1966 Batman film was expected to be a blockbuster, but only made $1.7 million, disappointing studio executives. By season 2, ratings had collapsed, and by season 3, ABC had slashed budgets. The Batboat and other expensive gimmicks disappeared. Even a proposed spin-off for Batgirl couldn't save the franchise. And then came the most bizarre twist of all, the missing film from London. In May 1967, Adam West, still in full Batman costume, filmed a road safety message for British children. For 50 years, it was lost. In 2018, the archive group Kaleidoscope stumbled across it during a hunt for missing UK television history. Fans finally saw Adam West's Batman teaching the curb drill: look right, look left, look right again before crossing the street. It was campy, surreal, and unforgettable. One of the most famous superheroes in the world had secretly doubled as a British safety instructor. For decades, no one had known. But that wasn't the only strange story hidden in Batman's history. Leslie Gore once performed a song on the show that mysteriously vanished from reruns. Commissioner Gordon was once shown being drugged unconscious with bat sleep spray, a scene later censored. Adam West himself was banned from Aspen, Colorado for 15 years after a wild party. Cesar Romero, who played the Joker, famously refused to shave his mustache, so the makeup team simply painted over it in every single episode. And legendary sci-fi writer Harlan Ellison once pitched a Two-Face episode, possibly with Clint Eastwood in the role. ABC rejected it, and it sat in a drawer for 50 years until it was finally adapted into a comic book in 2014. By 1968, Batman was finished. ABC canceled the series, but NBC briefly considered saving it. Then disaster struck. The sets, including the Batcave, Wayne Manor, and Gordon's office, had already been bulldozed. Rebuilding would cost millions. NBC backed out. Batman was gone, not with a bang, but with one of television's most expensive production mistakes. And yet, despite all the scandals, rumors, lost films, and canceled plans, the 1960s Batman series remains iconic. Adam West's portrayal turned a comic book character into a global pop culture phenomenon. Even today, lost footage like the 1967 London safety film continues to resurface, reminding us that Batman's story is never finished. There's always another secret waiting in the shadows. This is Hollywood Star News, and if you love diving into this hidden chapter of Batman history, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll keep uncovering the lost, the legendary, and the unbelievable stories from Hollywood's golden past, because sometimes the truth is even stranger than the fiction.